So today we're continuing our discussion, our summary discussion of Bhagavad-gita. Today's chapter, Chapter 7, Knowledge of the Absolute. And this chapter describes both knowledge of the Absolute and who is qualified for understanding that knowledge. So two things are discussed: Krishna and his devotees, or non-devotees, actually. And who can understand this knowledge, who cannot. So beginning with the first sloka, Krishna says, "Now hear, O son of Prita, how by practicing yoga in full consciousness of me, with mind attached to me, you can know me in full, free from doubt." So by practicing yoga in full consciousness of me, this does not mean hatha yoga. This means yoga, bhakti yoga, connecting with Krishna. "I shall now declare to you in full this knowledge, both phenomenal and numinous, knowing which nothing further shall remain to be known." So that covers everything, right? Once you know this, nothing else, you don't need to know anything else. That's pretty good. Of course, there are many other things to be known, mundane things, but once you know this absolute truth, then there's no reason to want to know anything else, because you're connected with the divine. "Of many thousands among men, one may endeavor for perfection. And of those who have achieved perfection, hardly one knows me in truth." So, very, very rare that a person endeavors for self-realization. And even of those that do, not very many actually come to the stage of the absolute truth. So it's very rare. The point here is that this is extremely rare for somebody to come to understand this. So how does that happen will be explained later. Okay, it's coming up. So now Krishna explains his different energies. He begins with the material energy: earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. Mind, intelligence, and ego, these are material energies. Many people, they think of them as spiritual. That is, anything that's not material, many people think of as spiritual. As we discussed before, people, they make up their own idea of what is spiritual, and so they think anything that's subtle, the subtle material energy, is spiritual. And there's many, many, many people who think like that because that's their training or their understanding. But Krishna says here, they're all material. "Besides these, there is another superior energy, which is the living entities who are exploiting this material energy." So that's the inferior and the superior energies, these two categories. A superior energy, the living beings, or the spiritual living beings. "All created beings have their source in these two natures." So, in this world, everybody has a material body, and they are the spiritual energy. So every living thing in this world has its source in these two energies. That's not an absolute statement. That means in this world. "Of all that is material and all that is spiritual, I am both the origin and the dissolution." Then, a very significant point: "There is no truth superior to me. Everything rests upon me, just as pearls are strung on a thread." So this is a very, it's a good analogy. You see, people wear pearls, women wear pearls. You don't see the thread, you see the pearls. although the pearls are dependent on the thread. And the same way, everything here is dependent on Krishna, but we don't see him, although he's supporting and sustaining everything in this world. Now, Krishna goes into a series of slokas that explain to us how we can learn to see him in this material world. So it's very nice to study these and be able to see them, because by seeing these, one can see Krishna. We can learn to see Krishna in this world. I'm the intelligence of the intelligent, the prowess of all powerful men. I'm the original seed of everything. I'm the strength of the strong, and not just any strong, but those strength which is devoid of passion and desire. This means strength in sattva-gun. Okay, men have energy, power, but if it's devoid of passion and desire, that means it's used to protect. So this is Krishna. Krishna he's giving protection or shelter to all living beings. And the king in this world is considered the representative of the Lord. The king's duty is to give protection to all of the praja, or the living beings in the kingdom. So Krishna is that strength. So wherever we see strength displayed in this way, we can understand this is a manifestation of Krishna. I am sex life, which is not contrary to religious principles. Now, this is a very significant one also, because many people, they say God is love, and for many people, love means sex. And of course, everybody thinks of sex as one of the highest pleasures in this world. And Krishna says, actually, it's a fact. But that which is not contrary to religious principles means sex which is engaged in for procreation and not for entertainment. So it's not that one has to ignore one's material needs. In this world, everybody has sex desire, but and it's meant to be engaged in the proper way for the purpose of procreation. All states of being, be they of goodness, passion, or ignorance, are manifest by my energy. I am in one sense everything, but I am independent. I am not under the control of the modes of material nature, for they, on the other hand, are dependent on me. So these are Krishna's energies, the gunas, and Krishna is a controller. So he's called sometimes nirguna, which means beyond the gunas. Deluded by the three modes, goodness, passion, and ignorance, the whole world does not know me, who am above the modes and inexhaustible. So this is the first point in the Bhagavad-gita where Krishna is where Krishna explains or says anything about the modes of material nature. And it's significant that it comes up in this chapter, Chapter 7, because this is knowledge of the absolute. And as we mentioned, this chapter is describing who can know Krishna and who cannot. And as we will see, it is those persons who are free from the lower modes who are qualified to understand Krishna. So Krishna is saying, all states of being are manifest by my energy. And then the next sloka connected to that, deluded by the modes. So this delusion, this is called Mahamaya. Everybody in this world is subject to illusion. And that's the amazing thing about this world, because nobody thinks they're an illusion. Everybody thinks that they've got it. They understand. And if you try to say, actually, we're an illusion, not many people will agree with it. They'll say, you're an illusion, maybe, but not me. So, deluded by the modes, nobody can know me. Krishna is covered up. Okay, again, Krishna is here earlier. He's showing this is the way that I can be seen and understood in this world. But for those who are deluded by the modes, they can't see me. Why? They don't want to see Krishna. This is one of the main classes of people in this world is people who want to forget about God. And so for those who want to forget about God, even though Krishna is behind everything, like the string of the pearls, they can't see him. But for those who want to, they can see him everywhere. So, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, right? Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Who's looking? Who? And then find the last sloka about the modes here. This divine energy of mind, consisting of the modes of material nature, is difficult to overcome. But those who surrender to me can easily cross beyond it. So this is a big secret in Bhagavad-gita. Again, knowledge of the absolute and who is qualified to understand that knowledge. Those who have surrendered to Krishna, they can understand the knowledge. Those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond the gunas. They can see things as they are. Now, Krishna speaks about those who cannot understand him because they don't want to. 4 kinds of men. The grossly foolish, the lowest among mankind, those whose knowledge is stolen by illusion, and those who partake of the atheistic nature of demons do not surrender unto me. So they can't see Krishna. They're in this world to try to be God themselves. And this is particularly true when you get to the more demonic end of the spectrum, the psychopaths and so on. If you know about the psychological nature of psychopaths, they want to be God. I have a chapter of that in my book. Did you read it all? No?
You thought psychopaths want to be God?
They're like that.
But in material world, everybody wants to be.
No, not to that. Not to that degree.
Oh, okay.
Okay. There's a progression towards evil, and first are those people. They have a conscience. They do something wrong, and their conscience, God in the heart, tells them you did something wrong, but they sweep that under the rug. They don't want to think I'm wrong. No, I don't want to hear that. People who have some element of sattva, they become embarrassed by improper behavior. They have a guilty conscience and they go, oh, I shouldn't have done that, right? They get guilty. But when you go to the tamagun side or the demonic side, they want to ignore that. Like you say, they sweep the dirt under the rug. Right? So that's what they're trying to do. They ignore that. And if they continue to do that, they come to the point where they can no longer hear any conscience. So this goes from, what is it? The ones, sorry, can't remember. Narcissists. Begins with narcissism. And if you continue in that way to ignore doing good or to ignore your conscience, then you become a more of a narcissist, and then finally you become psychopath. And psychopath, their condition is that whatever they want to do is right, and anybody who opposes them, they're wrong. Because I am always right. If you find some fault in me, the fault must be in you. We see this being played out in politics on the world stage sometimes. Because, why? Because psychopaths are very attracted to positions of power. So that's why we have the world that we've got, to a large degree. So these kind of people, they cannot surrender to Krishna. In the purport, Prabhupada explains the distinction between these four kinds of demonic beings. And it's helpful to understand the different nature of those. We're not going to go into that now. Then, four kinds of pious men render service to me. Those who are distressed, those who desire wealth, those who are inquisitive, and one who is searching for knowledge of the Absolute. So we see this. People become distressed. Some people, when God does not answer their prayers, they become atheists. Prabhupada gives the example of the women during World War II, all the women praying for their husbands, their sons, fathers to come home for the war, and when they don't, many of them become atheists. Because God didn't satisfy my desire, there must not be any God. So some people will do like that, both men and women. That's just women, men also. But the pious person who's a little pious, when they become distressed, they cry out to God for help. God, please help. You've had probably some near-death experiences in your line of work, have you?
Near death.
Yeah, dangerous, life-threatening experiences.
Maybe a little in war, but in job, no.
Oh, really?
It's not like in America.
Oh, okay.
No.
Okay.
No.
Uh-huh. Yeah, so, they say there is no atheist in a foxhole. Right? Because in war, it's like, unless God saves me, I'm going to die here.
Sachi Kumar was on a boat, sailing before many months. And he said, before there is atheist, theist, agnostic, like this. In ocean, everybody tastes. After ocean, atheist, theist. In ocean, when you...
Yeah, right.
Who
can save you?
Who?
Yeah.
Some of
That is a very good example.
Yeah.
But when they come back, they forget all that.
Yeah.
Amazing. So, and then the person who needs money is in financial distress. We pray to God, right? I sang my Janis Joplin song for you before, I think, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and I'll tell you a little story I have about that too. 30 years ago, I was temple president in one temple. And being temple president, I didn't require, any clothes. I had dhoti kurta all the time only. I didn't need a car. So gradually I lost everything. I didn't have anything. And then after I left that service, now I needed to have clothes to go out in the world, to get a job. I needed a car. I had nothing. So I'm trying to get a job and it's being difficult. So one day I became angry at Krishna. And I said, Krishna! I was yelling like this. Krishna! I've been your devotee. I've been serving you for years. I need your help. I need money. I need now. I need $2,000 by the end of the month. Like this. So anyway, I thought, well, maybe I shouldn't have done that, but anyway. So about 2 weeks later, I was out going for an interview for a job. Coming back, I came to a red light. I was waiting in the red light for the light to change, and it was going to change for the other side. And so this truck was going very fast to get through the light. And coming through the intersection, it bounced, and a big box fell out the back of the truck. I was the only car in the intersection. So this box is in the middle of the street. So I put my car on the side, I got the box, I'm sitting there, I'm waiting for the truck to come back. Truck doesn't come back. Okay. So I get home, I look in the box. What's in the box? Oh, brand new computer. This is a time when computers are very expensive. So I put an ad in the paper for a computer. And the first person that came put $2,000 cash in my hand. Thank you, Krishna.
Coincidence.
Not coincidence.
Yeah. Big. Yeah.
So, those who need money, they go to Krishna. It works sometimes. I was just thinking, it's nice because I was appealing to Krishna in a very personal way. I didn't just go, Krishna, I need some money. Okay, anyway, a lot of people do that. When they're distressed, they pray to God. Those who are inquisitive, how is this world working? What's the purpose of life? What's going on here? And then finally, the person who is searching for the absolute truth, who wants to know what is the basis for everything. So these kind of people, they come to Krishna. And it's a fact, if you make a survey, I've talked, on the basis of this sloka, I've spoken to different devotees, asking them, how did you come to Krishna? How did you come to Krishna? And I haven't found anybody that doesn't fit into these four categories. So this is how it happens.
What you say?
I said, I've been asking different devotees, how did they come to Krishna consciousness? And everybody fits in one of these categories.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Okay, and the one who is in full knowledge, who is always engaged in devotional service, is the best. For I'm very dear to him, and he is very dear to me. Now Krishna is he's speaking about those persons, again, who are qualified to know him, who are qualified to gain this knowledge of the Absolute. All these devotees are undoubtedly magnanimous souls, great souls, but he who is situated in knowledge of me is just like my own self. Being engaged in my transcendental service, he is sure to attain me, the highest and most perfect goal. And here again, Krishna repeats what was said earlier in the chapter, that out of many thousands of men, among men, hardly one will endeavor for perfection. He's repeating this point here. After many, many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders to me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. So it's the same thing as the earlier verse. Out of many thousands among men, hardly one will endeavor for perfection. And of those who are endeavoring for perfection, hardly one knows me in truth. So we'll find as we study Bhagavad-gita that Krishna repeats almost every point at least twice, and many 3 times. It's, by repetition, he's trying to get it through our head. And this point about spiritual economics, how many times does Krishna say you are not entitled to the fruits of action in Bhagavad-gita? More than 20. And still, when I would travel and speak about this point. Most devotees are oblivious. They don't get it.
They don't.
Which they don't understand it.
That fruit if don't.
Yeah, the fruits are for Krishna.
Okay.
Why? Because we are the culture that we live in. We're conditioned to this way of living. Right? I work, the results belong to me. So, that's, even though Krishna says it again and again and again, and we read Bhagavad-gita so many times, still, many people don't hear this.
You mean on niveau, on degree of intelligence, or?
No, just to understand the point in a practical way. I've spoken about this many, many times because it's a basis of my spiritual economics book. And when I would make this point in class, I'd put it in the form of a question, and it would bewilder everybody. They couldn't see it because we're conditioned to working for the results, for a paycheck. Anyway, so this is why Krishna says it again and again and again. All these points, many points he makes several times, so that hopefully we'll get it through our thick head and understand. But those whose intelligence have been stolen by material desires, who worship the demigods to satisfy those desires, they can't understand. So, are you going to surrender to Krishna, or are you going to surrender to your material desires? So those who are simply preoccupied with trying to fulfill their material desires, they won't be able to understand Bhagavad-gita. And Krishna goes on. He's making this point again and again here. I'm in everyone's heart as a super soul. When one desires to worship some demigod and make his faith steady so that he can devote himself to that deity, endowed with that faith, he worships the demigod to get his desires. But actually, these benefits are given by me. So, men of small intelligence worship the demigods. He said the same thing in chapter 2, text 41 through 43. Krishna says those who are less intelligent are following the Vedas, which is basically demigod worship. Here, demigod worship, what does that mean? This applies to us in the West also, because who's a demigod? Any powerful person, right? So we see many powerful politicians and people, how we say, suck up to them. Do you understand what that means? It's a phrase, modern slang. Many people, they try to there's many derogatory terms for it that I can say. I'm trying to find a polite way to say it. They try to appease or please powerful people so that they can get some benefit. Okay? You probably know there's some derogatory ways of saying. Also. Yeah. I'm sure you do. It's obvious, right? One time, there was one university I used to preach at in Ukraine. And the head of the department, he was a very nice man, but for his birthday, we happened to be there on his birthday, and I was really amazed. So many people, they sent big flower arrangements, like a funeral, but it was for his birthday. Big flower arrangements. Everybody, they wanted to have a good relationship with this fellow, so they can get some favor. So these are demigods. Well, we try to appease or worship such powerful people because we want some favor for them, from them. Such unintelligent men do not know me. They think that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, I, was impersonal before. Now I've taken this person, but they don't know my higher nature. So this is the idea of the Mayavadis. Again, Daniela, remember Mayavad? Yeah? Okay, so they think it's all one. When we die, we merge into the Brahman. We all become part of the one. We're all manifestations of the one. And they think that Krishna is like this too. That Krishna is the manifestation of Brahman. And okay, he has some nice things to say, but then he's going to go to Brahman like we're going to go to Brahman. So he's trying to help us. That's nice. But they don't fully get it. They don't have the knowledge of the absolute. So Krishna says, I'm never manifest to the foolish and unintelligent. For them, I'm covered by my internal potency, and therefore they do not know that I am unborn and infallible. As the Supreme Personality of Godhead, I know everything that has happened in the past, all that is happening in the present, and everything that's going to come. I know all living beings, but nobody knows me. Because all living beings are born into delusion, overcome by duality that comes from desire and hate. So, persons who have acted piously in this life and previous lives, and whose sinful actions are eradicated, they can engage themselves in my service with determination, and they can come to know me. So those intelligent persons, they take refuge in devotional service. They come to know the absolute truth. They are actually Brahman because they know everything about transcendental activities. Brahman is the Sanskrit word for spiritual. What is spiritual? So you'll see Brahman used in many, many different ways. Brahman in Bhagavad-gita. But basically, as it's used here, this means they have achieved spiritual perfection. So they are actually Brahman. They know everything about transcendental activities. So those in full consciousness who know me, the Supreme Lord, to be the governing principle of material manifestation of the demigods and methods of sacrifice, can understand and know me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, even at the time of death. Now that's an introduction to the next chapter, because the next chapter is about how do we attain the Supreme. So Krishna is giving a little hint here that those who come to full consciousness of me, they can know me at the time of death. And we'll explain that when we discuss the next chapter. Okay. Comments or questions? She's thinking.
Покушаем на английский.
Ага, здрасте.
Да, мало мне опыт комплицирован. For example, I serve you for something. You serve your master. Your master serve him master.
Mm-hmm.
And in the end, all of us serving the Krishna.
If that's our purpose. So there's what you're describing is like we can say parampara in the spiritual sense. In the material sense, we call it chain of command, right?
Yeah.
So the same principle is operating, but two very different.
Yes, different
Yeah.
way. Yes. And in also in one lesson,
Lecture.
In a lecture? Previous lecture?
In Kakudny lecture.
Oh, could okay.
Yes. He explained, or maybe I understand not perfectly, but not
Okay.
correct. When we serve some, not people, but semi-god, the Krishna is also happy because
Mm-hmm.
because this is a way to come to the Krishna,
Mm-hmm.
because everything is Krishna,
Okay.
and this semi-god is also
Representative.
yes, of Krishna.
This is the Vedic method before Bhagavad-gita. Okay. The Vedas are written to give opportunity for every person, regardless of their circumstances, no matter how fallen or how elevated they may be, how they can make progress from where they are at to return to Krishna. So the Vedas, previous to this age, the people were following the Karma Kanda section of the Vedas. So there's the Karma Kanda, Jnana Kanda, what's the other one? 3. Karma Kanda means I perform my activities specifically because I want the result, but I'm offering some of the result as sacrifice. Okay? But I get some result too. Okay? So it's a way of satisfying my material desires by including God, not forgetting about God. And people, but that method takes many, many, many lifetimes, long time. But in Bhagavad-gita, if you remember back in the 2nd chapter, Krishna says those who want to follow the demigods, they're less intelligent, or follow the Vedas, they're less intelligent. Because in Bhagavad-gita, Krishna is giving a different process for spiritual progress. Okay, different method of progressing. So he explains this in the 4th chapter of Bhagavad-gita, that I come again and again to establish principles of religion, which is what he did 5,000 years ago. He established principles of religion based on devotional service, not karmakanda. So by Krishna's grace and Lord Chaitanya's grace, we have the opportunity to go to him directly rather than going through the demigods. The demigods are also pleased when they see that we are serving Krishna. So it's not that they become envious, but they are actually happy to see us do like that. So yeah, that was the former system, but now the different system is given as devotional service, bhakti yoga.
Смішляш?
No, to maybe
7-3.
7-3.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
For many who is perfect, one can how if somebody is perfect, he's perfect. in which you have 7 free.
Yeah.
If somebody is perfect, he knows Krishna.
Here it doesn't talk about any. Well, Krishna's not saying that the perfect person knows him. He says, many thousands among men endeavoring for perfection, and of those who have achieved perfection, hardly one knows me in truth.
Yeah.
So,
this is my question. If you achieve perfection,
if you're what? You have a guest?
yeah, maybe. Yeah, if you achieve perfection, did you know Krishna or what?
Not according to what he's saying here.
Yeah, because that I don't understand. What is perfection then?
Okay, well, let's read the purport.
Okay.
Okay. There are various grades of men, and out of many thousands, one may be sufficiently interested in transcendental realization to try to know what is the self, what is the body, what is the absolute truth. Generally, mankind is simply engaged in the animal propensities, eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, and hardly anyone is interested in transcendental knowledge. The first 6 chapters of the Gita are meant for those who are interested in transcendental knowledge, in understanding the self, the supersoul, the process of realization by Dhyana Yoga, and discrimination of the self from matter. However, Krishna can be known only by those persons who are in Krishna consciousness. Other transcendentalists may achieve impersonal Brahman, for this is easier than understanding Krishna. So I think this is what is being referred to by Krishna. Who has achieved perfection? The transcendentalist, the person who is beyond this material world. And so there's many transcendentalists. They achieve Brahman, but very few of them actually know Krishna. You cannot go beyond Brahman without knowing Krishna. So Krishna, Prabhupada says here, Krishna can be known only by persons who are in Krishna consciousness. Other transcendentalists may achieve impersonal Brahman realization. This is easier than understanding Krishna. Krishna is the Supreme Person, but at the same time, he is beyond the knowledge of Brahman and Paramatma. So the yogis and jnanis, they are confused in their attempts to understand Krishna. Again, remember, they think that Krishna is manifest from the Brahman. That sloka comes up later in this chapter. So they can understand. They see Krishna and they're bewildered by, who is this person? Because they're trying to understand him from the perspective of their understanding of transcendence, which is incomplete. In order to understand Krishna, one must surrender to him. Then Krishna will reveal himself.
Okay. They are perfect to some degree.
Yeah, they're transcendental to this material world.
Yeah.
So that's one stage of perfection.
Yeah.
So there's perfect, more perfect, and most perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Something more? Very well then. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada Ki.
Jai.